So when you're working in Maya, you're working in this environment, but often you have to draw in other things from outside. So for example, you're going to be drawing, taking measurements of the face based on the skull, and then you're going to bring that image into Maya as a texture. So it's a JPEG, let's say, and that JPEG exists outside of Maya, and then it's imported in, right? So Maya always has to know where that thing is. So we don't just save a Maya file, we save a Maya project that includes those different elements. So we're going to do this now. We're going to make a little project for this that you can save. So under the File menu, if you go to down to the bottom, it says Project and then Project Window. We can open that up. I'm just going to clear my settings. Or no, I'm going to say, what am I going to say? Reset settings. And so you'll see something like this. It'll say current project, there'll be nothing there. And there'll be a location probably to a default folder or something like that. So let's create a new project, okay? So follow these steps. So just do current project, new, and then edit clear settings. Because all of these things, if you just kept all of them, it would create a folder for all of these things that you're never going to use. So you'd have a project with a list of 20 folders in it. So you don't need it. And let's put it on your desktop so we can just save it there for now. So we can just navigate to the location. I'll go to Mark Desktop. You can go to your own desktop. And just select that as your location. And so now this is a path, right? So the user, Mark, Desktop. And then we have to create a name for the project folder. So we call this A1, E1, something. Or that, no. That's I told you what to do. Yeah, in the thing it says last name underscore first name underscore A1, E1, so assignment 1, exercise 1. I think that's it. So that'll be the folder that everything is contained in, and that folder will be placed on your desktop. And the Maya files, the one thing you're working in with all these skull bits, is called a scene, because this is made for making movies, right? So this is your scene file. So we want our scene folder that contains our scene files just to be called Maya. So just type in Maya there. The other thing we don't really need for this, but we will in the future, so we'll just do this. So images. So what's an image? When you're working in 3D space, if you want to make a movie, an animation, you take images of the 3D objects, so you're rendering them out into frames, right? And where it saves it is a folder, and it will save all your images, and we'll call this folder renders. So you're rendering out an image from 3D space into a 2D format. And then finally, the other thing that we will need in future for our other projects, source images. So remember I said we're going to take measurements of the face, we're going to draw them in Photoshop, and it'll be a JPEG image, and we have to import that in. So that's a source image. And we'll put them in a folder called text for textures, right? You could name it anything. You could name it like watermelon. It doesn't matter. We'll just make a folder called watermelon, but then you put all of your textures in there and Maya knows where to find them. That's all. So we'll say accept, and now let's save. So we'll go to File, Save Scene, but before we go to Save, we'll open up the option box. So that's what this box means over at the end of any of these menu items. The option box, click on that. And Save Scene Options. What you want to turn on is incremental save. So what does this mean? When you're working on a paper or something and you're saving the file, you say, you know, Nietzsche's view of what I don't know. And then you do version 1, version 2, version 3, you know, as you go along, or put dates on it or something. What Maya does is automate this process. So every time you save, it just saves the file you're working on, but then in a separate folder saves a backup of it. So if you save again, then you've got a newer version plus a copy of that, and you go on and on. You've got increments. So you want to make sure that's turned on, and just say Save Scene, and a menu should come up. I'm going to do Save As, because mine already had a different... Yeah, mine's still remembering its last place, but yours should go to the Maya folder. If it doesn't, whenever you open Maya, so I'm just going to quit out of this. I'm just going to quit Maya. So how do you open a file in Maya? You just open a file. But what you should do is not just double click on the .ma file, the Maya file, is you should open Maya and launch and open it through there. You'll avoid problems that way. So you open Maya, you've got an empty scene, and you want to open the file you were just working on. Instead of just going to File, Open, once it finishes loading everything, there we go. Instead of going to Open Scene, the first thing you want to do is go down to where it says Project and Set Project. And then you want to go to, yours should be on the desktop. Mine is in my Dropbox folder somewhere. Maybe I also have one on the desktop. I forget what I called it now. I called it my name, right? Yeah, so Dryer, Mark, A1, E1. If I look in this folder, you see there's a thing called a workspace file. Don't worry about what that is, but you know that's the folder that contains that thing is your project folder. So when it asks you to set your project, you want to have the folder that contains that workspace file. So I can just say set now. And now if I go to open, File, Open Scene, it will take me right into that Maya folder where my Maya file should be, but I didn't save it there, so it's not. And then you open it. So let me just save a file here, just test file. And I will create something. Okay, so I've got a big torus. And I'll save it, Command S, and then I'll make a change, I'll duplicate it, and then I'll save it again. So and then if I look into my file structure, don't look at anything here, it's nothing inappropriate. So there's my project folder, there's my text folder, it's empty, there's my renders folder, it's empty too. And here's my Maya folder, and there's the test file, and you can see it's made another folder called incremental save. You look in there, and then it's got a copy for every time I press save. Oh, sorry, it's hard to read up there. But the one you always want to work from is this one right in the Maya folder. You don't want to go to these incremental folders unless something bad happens to this one, the one in the Maya folder. Or if you realize you've just gone way too far down a path, you can't undo back out of your bad modeling. And then you can go and look in here and find a stage where things were still good. And you can work from that one. So this is a safety net here, because Maya will crash many times. You'll be very angry. But you'll be less angry because you've got backups of all your files. So save often, save every 5 minutes. Every time you do something significant, I save all the time. If it starts to get unwieldy, these are small files, but the skull file will probably be about 100 megabytes. So save 10 times, that's 1,000 megabytes, that's a gigabyte, right? Save 20 times, that's 2 gigabytes. So you're going to start using up space fast. But you can start deleting the older ones, right? So the most recent one is the one with the highest number. If I go in here and save again, I have to make a change, so save. There's test file 3, that's the most recent one. So if you're up to like test file 400, you shouldn't get that high, but you can delete the first 350 of them, So you can manage this and delete them as you go along. But save a good buffer so you can go back. Does that make sense? That working for everybody? Good. So you have to do the same thing with this skull thing. Because class will be over in a little bit, half an hour. You got to save it. You got to do something with it, right? So when you save it, and if you want to save it to Dropbox, for example, you can just take that whole folder and save it to Dropbox. If you don't have any way to save it today, like you don't no way to take it home with you, you can just select the Maya file without all this project nonsense I'm talking about, and just you can email it to yourself. You can do something like that. It's only 10 megabytes, so you should be able to do that. Does anybody have no way to save their file today? No, okay, you're okay. So you can use Google Drive to save it. There are plenty of different things. Oh, one last thing, sorry. When you go to save, and I'll have to do a save as because I've already saved it, but you can see down at the bottom here, can you see? Sorry, it's hard to see. It says file type Maya ASCII or ASCII. If you click on that, it also says Maya binary. Don't have to worry really about what this means, but just save as Maya ASCII. So you'll have a .ma file. All that means is that it's written in plain language. It's sort of plain language. It's the coding language used in Maya, but you can open it up and read it in the text file. And if something goes really wrong, sometimes you can fix it that way. But the Maya binary is written more in machine language, so it's indecipherable. If you save it as an MB, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't matter, but in future, save as MA.